Hi, I'm Andrew, and this is my wife Laura. We've been married for 8 years. Until 1967, our marriage as an interracial couple would have been illegal. 41 states in the U.S. prohibited interracial marriage. Many of the reasons that were given against interracial marriage were biblical. One passage that was used against interracial marriage is from the Revelation of John, where John is standing before a multitude of people from every nation, tribe, and tongue. And biblical scholars back then argued that this meant that even in heaven there would be a multitude of people from different races or different nations, and there wouldn't be one single mix of individuals sort of pulled in together from all the different races. And so the argument was races needed to remain distinct even on this earth. Clearly, those views of the scripture were based on a misreading of the Bible and were based on a reading of the Bible, I would say, that was largely influenced by the culture of that time and that generation. And today, when we look back at that, we find it quite prejudicial or racist even to think that interracial marriage was prohibited by the Bible. And so I think we really need to be careful not to let culture and cultural prejudices influence our reading of the scripture.
I know as a little white girl growing up in Maine, I wasn't always aware of my own racial biases or prejudices. And it wasn't until I married into a family of another race and really experienced the world differently that I could see how other people truly do experience our country and society in very different ways. And I think especially as we look at this issue of marriage equality for homosexuals, I think as we look back on the issue of interracial marriage, many of us would agree that those who opposed it were letting their culture influence their reading of the scripture. And years from now, I think we're going to be looking back on this issue of marriage equality for homosexuals and likewise think that we have allowed our culture or our prejudices or fears to influence our reading of the scripture. And I think in particular, we as Christians are called to live in grace and love in this world. And that requires us to really reflect on our own prejudices, and it requires us to think critically about how we might view the world and how others might view the world differently. And we should be thoughtful not to allow our culture to influence our reading of the scripture.
We are believers, and we believe in marriage equality.